Alright, hello everyone, welcome to the final day of E3, the final conference. It was rounded out with Nintendo that didn't particularly raise the roof. Like, they did some alright stuff. This will obviously be the last day. I did miss Microsoft and I am going to upload that after this one. So, even though Microsoft was on day 2, I'm just going to call it day 4, you know, just because then it just all flows nice and naturally. So that's going to go up like in a couple of hours after this one. And then tomorrow we're going to just do all the little extra things that I didn't get to cover, like the ones that I personally wanted to cover, like Mario and the Rabbids Stars of Hope and a few other indie games, and that's about it. But let's go through Nintendo, which didn't particularly raise the roof. They definitely... I mean, aside from Microsoft brought out some nice things as well. It was definitely a tie between Nintendo and Microsoft. They are, like, definitely the winners of E3, and if you saw my video on day 3, we know who the fucking loser was. God, that was the worst shit. That was, But yeah, let's go through Nintendo, which, for me personally, didn't quite raise the roof. I do need to make one last book. Put an X in that. Nintendo. There you go. Sorry, I got a little bit of a runny nose. It's a little bit of pollen in the air today. I haven't particularly got hay fever, but when it's really like mega high, it's been super hot today, a little bit windy. We're in line for a storm tonight, so like when the pollen is super high, I get just a little bit of a sniffle. But yeah, let's go through Nintendo, where they announced some. It's more, if you like it, you're gonna be creaming your pants, like ooh. And if you don't, then it's gonna be like, it's okay. Like for me, I was like, yeah, it's nice, but it's not really what I'm here for. So, you know, first of all, Kazuya in Smash. It's like, I think Pyra and Mythra topped the Smash DLC. Like, everybody wanted them, I wanted them, I like Pyra. There you go, that's me. And as you may know, I don't do fighting games, I don't particularly like fighting games. So when Kazuya shows up, it's like, it's Kazuya. I know a lot of people, you know, everybody that likes Tekken, they're going to be like, oh, Kazuya, they recreated the scene where Hitachi threw him into the volcano. Oh. But for me, it's just another fighting character. So that's what I mean by Nintendo. It's like, if you like what Nintendo saw, you're gonna be creaming yourself. But if you don't, you're just going to be like, oh, well, that's nice. You know, it's just a nice thing. So Kazuya, it was alright. You know, it's fine. It's not my cup of tea. I don't particularly like fighting games. So for me, it's just okay. He's just okay. There was nothing special about him. Moving on, though, we have Monkey Ball Collection. Again, I'm not really that big of a Monkey Ball fan. I don't get it. It's just kind of like Marble Madness with monkeys. I know a lot of people like it, aside from Banana Blitz, which I've heard is the worst one, but again, if people like it, they're going to be like, oh yes, but if you don't, then, well, it's just nice that the people that like it got it. So, you know, again, it's just okay. It's nothing offensive, it's just okay. Then we move on to the next one, which is kind of a disappointment for me, to be honest. Like, WarioWare shove it up your ass kind of game. The Wii? What is the Wii? The PS Triple is where it's at. But no, WarioWare, don't like it, to be honest. I hate WarioWare. Like, again, Wario Land. Why can't you just make another Wario Land? I'm not saying that you can't have WarioWare, but where's another Wario Land? And, you know, WarioWare was also made for the Game Boy. It was a collection of tiny little mini games bundled as a full game. And this is a Switch version, so you know it's going to be $60. And paying $60 for a bunch of like shitty mini games. No, like that shit has to be 40, but it's not gonna be because of Nintendo tax. It's gonna come out at 60, and for 60, I would just rather have a full adventure in the form of Wario Land 5, or if you count Shake Dimension as 5, then Wario Land 6. Like, I just give me another Wario Land, Nintendo. So yeah, for me, like, $60 for a collection of shitty minigames, like, you know, smoosh the little girl, drop the boobies. No. That's bad. Then we got, what ones are we going to cover? So we got the big three. These are the ones that I want to go through. These are the ones I want to talk about. So then we got Mario Party Superstars. I hate it. Because this was done so cynically. Like, I didn't like what happened. A person that was in the call, Kenny, didn't like what happened. A lot of the big people didn't like what happened. You know, like all of the Vinny, Joel, everybody watching didn't like what happened because it's a cynical move. It's very obvious why it was done. And it's a little bit cynical, and it's just like, then why did you make me do it? Like, again, this is not just myself, it's many people, RT Games, etc. When Super Mario Party was released, the biggest complaint about Super Mario Party was there was no online board. It was just a collection of minigames. Everybody wanted the online board and controller support. Then we got nothing. It was just dead. Then 2 years later, now we get the online board. We still don't get controller support. You like a Pro controller, you still have to use the Joy-Cons. So if you got Joy-Con drift, woohoo, boy! If you got, you know, just let me bring up an image that I like to use for when I'm doing my thing. If you got Joy-Con drift, then you know, that's your face. You're just screaming at the Joy-Cons to work. You're not having a good time. You're just like, fuck! It just keeps going to the left! Why are you going to the left? So, not the best. But they added the online board. And everybody's like, yeah, okay. If you've got Joy-Con drift, it sucks. But if you haven't, well, you know, we can play the online board now. That's great. Everybody's having fun. And then, like, literally a week later, they come out and say, oh, by the way, now there's a new one. Pay $60 again. Well, if you were going to release a new one, then I would have just paid $60 for the new one that has the online boards and the Pro Controller support. I wouldn't have gone out like RT Games did, and myself did, and Kenny did. I wouldn't have gone out and bought Super Mario Party if I'd known that this one was coming. Because now this one, that I bought specifically to play the online board with my friends, now feels like a waste of money. So it's like, if this was coming, why didn't you tell everybody? So yeah, the Mario, and it could have just been DLC for Super Mario Party, which, you know, it's only 2 years old. It's not even that old. It's still a Switch title. It's still fairly new. So like, the couple of extra boards and the couple of extra characters like Birdo, which admittedly, you know, I have got a picture of myself as Birdo. I want that character. It could have been DLC. It could have been DLC, and both myself and a lot of people feel really cheated. I don't want to say it's bad, because, you know, it's Mario Party. It looks fun. The minigames look fun. But with the marketing that you did and the tactic you did, no. Bad. Bad. Don't do that. Do not do that. Then we got the last two. I'm going to cover Breath of the Wild 2 first before we end it on a high note. As many of you know... Sorry. My bad. As many of you know, I am not a fan of Breath of the Wild 1. I feel that the Dead Barren Wasteland is dead and barren and empty, and there's no content except for just pissing around, finding 1,000 Koroks, which gives you a golden turd because they do not respect your time. The Master Sword breaking is another disrespect of time, and then like the whole weapon degradation thing, where it's just weapon fragility. They break like glass, which means there's no point in fighting monsters. You just go to Ganon with a stick. There's a lot of mechanics, and that's a whole other video. I keep saying, like, if you want to come onto my streams and discuss that, that's like an hour-long stream. That's a whole other video. So if you're in the comments now being like, well, actually, the weapon degradation and the stamina meter, yeah, I've heard the arguments. Don't worry. I've had this conversation a lot of times on stream, and it's a big long debate, and I already know all the points you're going to make, and I already have counterpoints. So if you want to come on stream and discuss them, that's fine, because I know you're going to say it's integral to the game wouldn't work without it. There's a lot of pros and cons, but overall, due to these mechanics, I didn't think Breath of the Wild was that good. I thought Breath of the Wild was a pretty bad game overall, and Age of Calamity is far better than Breath of the Wild. Now, we knew that we were going to hear Breath of the Wild 2 news at E3, and I was hoping for something. I was hoping for at least one boss fight. You know, I'm not asking you to show everything, but just give us one fight. It don't even have to be a boss fight. Just a fight against a regular Stone Talus or a Hinox or some basic, like, big enemy, just to give us a feel. Because what I would have really liked is for them to come out and say, you know, is the weapon degradation still in the game? Yes or no? Is the stamina meter still in the game? Are we still going to have to do like 4 shrines to get a orb to choose whether we want stamina or health? Like, I was hoping that this, because this was obviously the big thing they were leading up to, we were going to get a lot of explanations. We were going to get a lot of descriptions of changed mechanics, and we didn't. And all we saw, we saw like maybe 2 seconds of gameplay that wasn't scripted, and then we saw Ganon rising the castle out, and that was it. It was just done. It was finished, and it's like, that doesn't tell me anything. Like, I know you're in the, I know that you are exploring the skies. You're going for a bit more of a Skyward Sword. Ganon rises the castle into the sky. You see Link skydiving, but that doesn't tell me anything about like the game mechanics. You know, the things that I personally don't find good and some other people don't find good. The things that split the fan base. Can you play as Zelda in this one? Like, there was a lot of information that we would have liked to have seen, especially because this is your big stage, this is your time to show it, and you didn't. So, from what I've got right now, which is just, it's Breath of the Wild again, and it still has the weapon degradation, the stamina, it's still going to have all the same mechanics again, it's going in the bad chest. Like, it might not be a bad game, they might come out and pull a full 180, but just from the things that I saw at E3, I personally don't like Breath of the Wild. I'm sorry if you do. But let's end on a positive note. Let's end on Metroid Dread. So again, there's not like a lot to show. They did show off more at their treehouse. This was the first game they showed off at their treehouse, but I did have to go, so I didn't get to watch the entire treehouse. But this is the canonical Metroid 5. This is like the next Metroid in the series. We didn't get any news of Metroid Prime 4. They did say they were still working on it, but again, people say that. It's like, we're still working on Scalebound, and then look what happened to Scalebound. So like, just having like a bit of Metroid Prime 4, even if it was literally Samus just walking down a corridor, like nothing else, just walking down the corridor and then shooting the door open. Just something, because it's been 4 years since we've even seen anything. Like, we know that they changed the developers, but we've never seen even one single screenshot. The only thing we've got to go on is the title card that said Metroid Prime 4, and that's not even the title card, that was just a 4. And it's like, oh yes, but it's been 4 years. Like, I know you say you're still working on it, but please, just a single moment, one single snapshot of walking down a corridor and shooting the door open, or just like Ridley popping up like, hi Samus, I got a son now, or anything. But that's fine, you know, because even if we don't get anything of Metroid Prime 4, which a lot of people were hoping for, we did get Metroid 5 that they're calling Metroid Dread. It's another 2D Metroidvania, much like Samus Returns. I was hoping that Samus Returns would get ported to the Switch. No dice right now. But Metroid Dread looking good. It's a 2D Metroid. You're going back and forth through the map. Except this time, the Dread part comes in with this white robot. I know I'm not showing it because it's just like a wrap-up thing, but it comes in the form of this white robot that chases you around, and like you can't kill it. Like even the super missile doesn't kill it, you can only stun it. So it's going to play a lot more like Alien Isolation, where you are facing something that you physically can't kill. So there will be sections where all you can do is run. You just have to run away from it. And there's going to be more and more of these robots as the game goes on, which, you know, you've always got to be on your toes, you've always got to be ready to run away. This is an unstoppable enemy that you can't kill, so you're always dreading when they show up, because they could show up at any time, and if you're doing something important, well, they could fuck you. So yeah, Metroid Dread looking really good. It's got a nice steel bookcase. I definitely probably want the steel bookcase version, but yeah, Metroid Dread, that's the one thing that Nintendo showed me that I'm like, oh yes, I'm excited for that. I'm happy with that. I want to see that. That's good. So yeah, and as you can see, Microsoft is in the good chest, as is Nintendo. Overall, Nintendo did good. They did good. Like, again, a lot of it wasn't my cup of tea, but the things that were there, like Metroid Dread, you did good. So you at least we ended E3 on a high note. It wasn't the best E3 after Day 3. Day 3 was abysmal. Day 3 was the worst I've ever seen E3 ever. Because, like, Take-Two, again, you saw the video, we got clowned for an hour, like, no, that was, Day 3 was fucking awful. But yeah, at least it ended on a high note. So, I'm going to upload this one that you're watching now. In a few hours, you're going to see the Microsoft conference, which is now recorded. I just missed it on Day 2, but it's recorded. And then, after Microsoft, we're just going to go over a few little games that really piqued my interest. And then we will do our winners and losers of E3 over on the golden pedestal. So, yeah, stick around for that. But for now, that's going to be the end of Day 4. And I will be back with the extras and the winners and losers of E3. So I'll see all of you then. And then Microsoft's obviously coming next.